Okay, so I did my project on the impact of today's journalism practices in society. My name is Jessica Gonzalez. So, my topic is mainly about today's media systems. I'm a journalism major. The reason why I chose this is because in the book, Decoding the World, we talked about a lot of like major world issues like climate change, coronavirus, dying bees, infertility, all of that stuff. And it kind of made me wonder like how all of these major issues are being reported in the media. And at least for me, I feel like all of this stuff we've heard about, but as it's not being reported as it should be. I think it's kind of like this leads me into the idea of us being desensitized to like specific major world issues. One of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this is because there's a term called packed journalism, which is the idea of reporting allows for a loss of independent reporting. It can contribute to misfortune and unfairness to the groups targeted by the journalist packs, and how groupthink, which is a communication theory explaining the negative perceived social behavior that can create disastrous outcomes, is related to pack journalism. I wanted to focus on pack journalism because it's something that is really prominent in today's media, and a lot of journalists kind of fall into this category of reporting, and it's negatively impacting our society. So for my claim and qualifier, my claim is that our systems of media and journalist reporting has allowed for an overwhelming amount of biased reporting, the desensitization of the public, and for pack journalism to become the prominent way of reporting. And I wanted to emphasize the importance of fact-checking and making sure you're coming from reliable sources. My qualifier is that journalists often allow personal opinions and facts to blend together, causing inaccurate reporting. My warrants and backings for my essay. My warrant is because the media is often biased, it is important to fact check and do personal research so you don't follow the wrong information. My backing is that the media has this specific power structure. For example, CNN and Fox News, ABC7, they're among the top media outlets that everyone else kind of follows. Even smaller media outlets, they follow whatever CNN or Fox News is reporting on. So this creates this like big power dynamic of whatever CNN and Fox News are reporting, that becomes fact, even if it's reporters' personal beliefs bleeding into their factual information. Like I said, it is important to fact check big outlets in order to prevent harmful and destructive reporting of a specific certain or thing or group. My good reasoning and evidence, for example, in 2020, TMZ reported on the death of Kobe Bryant and Gigi Bryant. This was an example of unethical reporting because they reported on this before anyone else knew about it. For example, like Vanessa Bryant, which is the wife of Kobe Bryant, had no idea that her husband and her daughter got into a helicopter crash. And it came out, I believe, like 20 minutes after the plane or the helicopter went down. So no one really knew if it was factual. Everyone was kind of going up and down whether Kobe and the wife died, or Kobe and one of the daughters died, or if the entire family died, or if Kobe wasn't even on the flight at all. So it was just a matter of unethical reporting. And then the 9/11 reporting of Muslim Americans. Back in 2001, when this incident happened, there was a lot of stereotypes going around against Muslims in America, even though like it was a specific group of people that did these violent acts. It was everybody, like the whole general group of Muslims was being targeted by the media. And it led to a lot of like racist issues that Muslim Americans were facing. And then in 1994, Rwandan genocide. This was a genocide that happened in Africa with over 800,000 people were killed just because they were part of like this Tutsi group. They were innocent people. This is often compared to the Holocaust, where innocent people were dying in the Holocaust. This is what happened in the Rwandan genocide. And there was a specific media radio station that was reporting against the Tutsi people, encouraging people to kill them, to find them in their hiding spots, calling them cockroaches, calling them like menace to society, blaming all of the country's issues on them. It just really enticed the hatred for these innocent group of people, which led to like the genocide. Media structures allow big outlets to have all the power. Like I said, CNN, Fox News, they kind of hold the power right now, and little markets are forced to report on what they report, which again becomes fact. Even if it is not fact, it's presented as factual information to the public. The authority that I have, I'm a communications major. I have a journalism degree. I've been a reporter, an anchor, and I am an executive producer for Titan TV, which is the communications department, our news station. As an executive producer, I've been able to realize how much power a producer has. My reporters would report to me and tell me about stories that were happening on campus, off campus, and around Orange County. And I had the power to pick and choose what was going to be reported on and what was not. So I had the power to influence campus, and putting that onto a bigger scale. For example, if I were a CNN producer, I had the power to choose what goes on air and what doesn't, what the public knows about and what doesn't. And I don't think there are I think there are good people who are producing and they have the right intentions, but I also think there's big room for a lot of people who have bad intentions to influence public knowledge. Rebuttal and responses, obviously not everything is biased in the media. There are a lot of sources out there that are factual and they have factual evidence. There are a lot of ethical reporters in journalism. Not everyone is biased. It just comes down to the person who is intaking the information and whether or not they do their own personal research and they fact check the sources. Ending thoughts. I think this is an underestimated issue. I think this can lead to a lot of destruction in our society. I think it already has, especially within politics, referring to the 2020 and the 2016 presidential elections. I think there was a lot of misinformation going around, being presented as factual information. Going back to Decoding the World, I think a lot of issues on climate change, coronavirus, infertility, cancer, it's all kind of being desensitized. And I think that a lot of that information should be the top stories, and it's not being in the top stories. It's kind of being bled down into the lower, less important stories. As a journalist, I feel this sense of urgency, and I hope everyone is fact-checking and they are relying on credible sources instead of just looking on Twitter and seeing what's the latest news and just taking that as fact. We have historical evidence of damaging events that have been led by media, for example, 9/11, the Rwandan genocide, the Holocaust propaganda that leads into propaganda, etc. So I just think this is a very important issue, and that is all I have. Thank you for watching.